Welcome to Audiobook Summary Channel. Today, we're diving into a book that courageously confronts one of the most ingrained yet often unexamined forces shaping our lives, the very definition of masculinity and its profound impact on men's capacity for love. We're exploring Bell Hooks' groundbreaking and deeply compassionate work, The Will to Change Men, Masculinity, and Love. If you've ever wondered why so many men struggle with emotional expression, why relationships are often fraught with power struggles, or how patriarchy harms everyone, including men themselves, prepare to have your understanding of gender, love, and liberation profoundly expanded. Bell Hooks, the visionary feminist author, cultural critic, and professor, who intentionally styled her name in lowercase to emphasize the importance of her message over her identity, dedicated her life to challenging oppressive systems and advocating for love as a transformative force. In The Will to Change, published in 2004, Hooks zeroes in on a topic often neglected in mainstream feminist discourse: how patriarchal masculinity harms men and prevents them from living full, emotionally rich lives. This isn't a book about blaming men. It's a powerful analysis of the system of patriarchy and a compassionate call for men to liberate themselves from its damaging dictates. Hooks argues that patriarchy is a system that demands emotional repression from men. From an early age, boys are taught that strength means emotional stoicism, detachment, and the suppression of feelings like fear, vulnerability, and even joy. They are told, "Boys don't cry, be a man," and are shamed for expressing emotions that are labeled feminine or weak. This initial conditioning is the foundation of patriarchal masculinity, a system built on domination, control, and a rigid hierarchy where masculinity is equated with power over others, particularly women and other marginalized groups. The consequences of this patriarchal training for men are devastatingly clear, as Hooks illustrates. This emotional straitjacket leads to emotional illiteracy. Many men grow up unable to identify, articulate, or process their feelings. They lack the vocabulary of emotions beyond anger or frustration. This emotional repression doesn't just make them stoic, it leaves them feeling isolated, unfulfilled, and profoundly disconnected from themselves and others. This enforced emotional repression has a direct and destructive impact on men's ability to engage in true love and healthy relationships. Hooks argues that men raised in patriarchy often learn to define love in distorted ways, as possession, control, transactional exchange, or simply lust. They struggle with intimacy because intimacy requires vulnerability, empathy, and the ability to truly see and respond to another's emotional landscape, all skills systematically suppressed by patriarchal conditioning. Hooks defines love not as a feeling, but as an action, a practice. Her comprehensive love ethic involves care, actively attending to the well-being of self and others; commitment, dedicating oneself to growth and connection; trust, believing in the reliability and integrity of self and others; responsibility, taking accountability for one's actions and impacts; respect, honoring the inherent worth and autonomy of self and others; knowledge, seeking to truly understand self and others, without projection or assumption. Patriarchal masculinity, Hooks contends, actively undermines almost every aspect of this love ethic. Men are taught not to care for themselves emotionally, to avoid commitment in favor of freedom, to distrust vulnerability, to evade responsibility through blaming, to disrespect those deemed lesser, and to avoid genuine self-knowledge or knowledge of others that might challenge their worldview. This manifests in relationships as men's inability to reciprocate emotional labor, their struggle with empathy, and their frequent resort to dominance or emotional withdrawal when faced with conflict or vulnerability. The result is often loneliness, dissatisfaction, and a cycle of broken relationships, leaving both men and their partners feeling unloved and unfulfilled. Hooks powerfully connects patriarchal training to violence and addiction. When men are denied healthy outlets for emotional expression, rage, frustration, and pain fester. Without the tools to process these emotions, some men turn to external behaviors. Violence. From domestic abuse to broader societal aggression, violence becomes a primary, destructive outlet for suppressed emotions and a means to exert control and power, as dictated by patriarchal norms. Addiction, substances, work, sex, or other compulsive behaviors become coping mechanisms to numb the emotional pain and emptiness caused by their alienation from themselves and others. Hooks insists that men are not inherently violent or emotionally stunted. These are learned behaviors, deeply embedded by patriarchal systems that tell men they must be this way to be real men. The problem lies not with individual men, but with the ideology of masculinity they are forced to embody. So, if patriarchy is the problem, what is the solution? Hooks argues that the path to liberation for men lies in embracing feminism. For many, this is a radical concept, as feminism is often wrongly perceived as being anti-men. Hooks vehemently refutes this, stating that feminism is for everybody. It is a movement to end sexism, sexist exploitation, and oppression. By dismantling patriarchy, feminism liberates everyone, women, non-binary individuals, and crucially, men themselves, from rigid, damaging gender roles. The core of the solution lies in a profound act of individual and collective agency, the will to change. This is not a passive process. It requires conscious awareness. Men must first recognize and acknowledge the ways in which patriarchal conditioning has shaped their emotional lives and their relationships. This involves deep self-reflection and a willingness to see uncomfortable truths. Unlearning and deprogramming. Actively working to dismantle the internalized lessons of patriarchal masculinity. This means challenging messages of emotional stoicism, dominance, and aggression. Cultivating emotional literacy, learning to identify, name, and express a full range of emotions in healthy ways. This involves developing a new vocabulary for feelings and practicing vulnerability. Embracing an ethics of love, actively practicing care, commitment, trust, responsibility, respect, and knowledge in all relationships. This shifts from love as control to love as mutual growth and liberation. Challenging other men, speaking out against sexist behavior and patriarchal norms among peers, creating a new standard for masculinity. Revolutionary parenting. For fathers, this means raising sons differently, allowing them full emotional expression, encouraging empathy, and modeling healthy, non-dominating forms of masculinity. It's about raising boys who are free to be fully human. Hooks emphasizes that this journey of change is courageous. It requires men to challenge deeply ingrained societal expectations and often to face ridicule or resistance from other men who are still trapped in the old paradigm. But the reward, she argues, is immense. The capacity for true intimacy, authentic connection, and a profound sense of emotional wholeness that patriarchal masculinity denies. What does a man who has undergone this transformation look like? He is a man who is emotionally intelligent. He understands and expresses his feelings and can empathize with others. Practices genuine care. He is attentive to the well-being of his loved ones and takes responsibility for his actions. Values equality and mutuality. His relationships are based on respect, not dominance or control. Is accountable. He owns his mistakes and seeks to learn and grow. Redefines strength. He sees strength not in aggression or suppression, but in vulnerability, integrity, compassion, and the courage to challenge oppressive systems. Hooks offers hope, but not a simple solution. The will to change is a continuous practice, a lifelong commitment. It's about recognizing that every man has the potential to break free from the patriarchal cage and reclaim his full humanity. By doing so, men not only heal themselves but also contribute to the creation of a more just, loving, and equitable world for everyone. It's a powerful vision of liberation for all genders, rooted in the transformative power of love and a conscious choice to evolve. In conclusion, Bell Hooks, The Will to Change, is an essential and provocative exploration of how patriarchal masculinity profoundly limits men's capacity for love, emotional expression, and genuine well-being. By dissecting the harmful conditioning boys receive and exposing its devastating consequences on relationships and society, Hooks offers a clear path forward. She invites men to embrace feminism not as an enemy, but as a liberating force, to cultivate emotional literacy, to practice a radical love ethic, and to courageously commit to the will to change. This book is a powerful testament to the idea that true liberation from oppressive systems requires the conscious effort of all, leading to a world where men can finally experience the fullness of love and humanity. Thank you for joining us on this vital journey through Bell Hooks, The Will to Change. If this summary has inspired you to reflect on masculinity, love, and personal transformation, we highly recommend diving into the full book for its comprehensive insights. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more summaries designed to challenge your perspectives and empower your growth. Until next time, dare to change.